Hello, it's me, Mike Mike Woodwind Wolter, and I'm here today to tell you about playing the clarinet. So the first step with woodwinds before we assemble them is to take out your reed and wet your reed. And you're going to want to wet the whole reed, not just the narrow part there, but the whole reed up and down. Mine is already pretty wet. It's because I didn't want to have to do it while talking into the camera and talking to you. All right, so our first step, actually I'm going to put this back just so I don't damage it. There we go, so right there. Our first step is to grab our upper and lower joint, the upper and lower joints of our clarinet. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up the keys. So here, keys forward. There are some keys on the back, as you see there, but not as many. So we're going to line up those keys like this. And then we're going to press together. But you'll notice that you have, it's a little hard to see. I'll do my best to show you. That's one side. That little metal piece right there is going to fit on top of that little metal piece. But what we want to do is we're going to press this key right here. Do you see how it goes up and down? I'm sorry, I'm struggling with showing this sort of thing in the camera. We're going to want to press that key to get that little piece to go up so that we don't jam it together with the other piece. And then it's going to just rest right on there. So now that our upper and lower joints are together, we can start to assemble the rest of it. So upper and lower joints. Now let's take our bell and we're going to put that on the end of the lower joint. And again, when you're screwing these together, if they're very resistant to going together, you might need to take that chapstick looking tube out of your case and just put a little coating on the cork there. But mine's not too bad, and I'm just going to be very mindful of how I'm holding the clarinet with this hand so as not to bend any of the metal parts. All right, so let's get that bell on there. Make sure it's snug fit. All right. Oh, jeez. Sorry, the lighting is not good in my house today, and we don't have great blinds, so I'm here in the playroom sitting on a little rubber ball. All right. We're going to take our barrel and put it on the other end of the clarinet. We're going to put that up here. Just like that. All right, we're most of the way there. Now let's take our mouthpiece. You'll notice that the ligature is not on. Not quite yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to face this opening. You see that? There's an opening on one side. There's the opening. The opening is going to go opposite the keys. So there's my keys. The opening is going to be faced away from the keys. Just like that. So here's what I have so far. My bell, lower joint right here. Sorry, bell, lower joint, upper joint, barrel, mouthpiece, and the mouthpiece is pointing down at the ground, like that. Now, instead of putting my mouthpiece on right away, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my ligature on, just like that. And the reason I put the ligature on first is so that I don't damage this very fragile reed. We want to be very careful with how we hold the reed. I'm going to wet mine one more time. Both sides. And then you'll see I have the screws here, and if I can't tell if you can see, but that's the opening right there. That's the opening. So the screws are on the side of the opening, and I'm going to raise that opening up, raise that ligature up a little. Again, the ligature is on first. And I'm going to raise it up a little so I can slide my reed in there. And then my reed is going to be just a sliver under the mouthpiece. I want to see just a little bit of black poking up over the mouthpiece. And then when I tighten my ligature screws, I do not want to over tighten them. So you can see just a sliver of mouthpiece above that reed. And I'm not going to over tighten these ligature screws because I want to make sure that that reed vibrates. Because if the reed doesn't vibrate, no sound comes out of the clarinet. Or at least not a good sound. Not a sound that you want to hear. Alright, so I have my ligature screws tightened, my reed's in there, just a sliver underneath the mouthpiece. And let's see here. So when you're holding your clarinet, so now we're getting much closer to playing. Just bear with me, a couple more things. You're going to want to put your right hand thumb on this metal piece on the kind of top half of your bottom joint, and your thumb's going to go right like that, and that's going to be one of the main fulcrum points or holding points for your clarinet. And then the mouthpiece goes in your mouth. And you don't want any teeth on the reed. Actually, with clarinet, we don't really want any teeth on the top either. We're going to have our lip, just like with the saxophone, we're going to have our lip curled over our bottom teeth. And then on top, we're actually going to have our embouchure, our mouth is going to be quite firm and pulling down here. And we're not going to use our teeth like we did on the saxophone. Instead, we're just going to make a firm seal with our lips. Let's see what happens when we blow a little air through without pressing down any keys. Not bad. And you'll notice that my eyes are up, my head is up, but my clarinet is about at a 30-degree angle away from my body. It's not up here, and it's not straight down, but about 30 degrees. And if I get too much reed in my mouth, too much mouthpiece, I'm going to squeak like that. So just make sure that you back off a little bit and find that sweet spot. All right. You can pause it if you need to while you find that sweet spot. All right, excellent. Now we're going to learn the first 5 notes of the C major scale on the clarinet. Now, if I hold down, so I'm not doing anything with this hand. The only thing that my right hand is doing is I've got my thumb on that fulcrum point, right? And if your thumb's starting to hurt, we should consider getting you a neck strap to help support the weight of your instrument. But no keys down in my right hand. In my left hand, I actually want you to do all 3 keys. So you're going to start with this top one that looks like a circle. This one also looks like a circle. It's got a little, or I should say a ring. And then the third one, get nice and close. The third one does not have a metal ring. It's just a hole in the pipe, in the clarinet itself. And what you don't see from this angle is my thumb. My thumb is also, it's closing that key on the back right there. Right? And we want to make sure if we press really hard, and I have calluses from guitar, I don't know if this is going to show up, but if we press really hard, we should be able to, oh yeah, sure enough, see little indentations. And if those indentations aren't completely round, if it looks like there's a part of the circle missing, it means that you're not quite centered on that key, and that's going to lead to bad sounds as well. So just make sure that you're covering those holes completely. So we have our first finger down, our second finger down, third finger down, and that thumb and back. And now if we play, we should get a C that sounds kind of like that. Now if you're at the piano and you're saying, oh, that's not C, that's a B flat. Well, that's because this is a B flat instrument. When we play C, we hear B flat, concert B flat. But for now, we're just going to refer to the clarinet notes. So that's C. Now, if we remove a finger, our third finger, that one right there, I'm going to keep it hovering over the key, but just so you can see, pulling it back. So did that go up or down? Let's listen again. Here's C. That went up. So that went to a D. Now if I remove another finger, And remember, I'm having them hover over the keys because you don't want to do this when you're playing clarinet. But if I remove another finger and I only have my first finger down, and my thumb, of course, thumb still down. That went up again, that's E now. Let me re-wet my reed. That's a problem with doing videos. You talk so much, your reed dries out a little bit. So let's hear those first three notes. C, D, E. And I noticed that I was trying to show you what to do, and my clarinet came up like this. Now that's over 30 degrees, right? It's almost 90 degrees. So I need to drop that clarinet down. It's going to be a lot easier for the air to go where it needs to go. All right, our next note, guess what? Drop another finger. Now the only finger down is our thumb in the back. So let's hear what that one sounds like. And that's up again to F. So now we have C, D, E, F. Now guess what? Let go of the thumb, you guessed it. And that's going to go up to a G. Let's hear what that sounds like. C, D, E, F, G.